So hi, everyone. Thanks for coming out. Excited to tell you more about Twilio Segment and Mural today and how we're working with Databricks. So we're going to get started. We'd ask that you please hold your questions to the end. We will have a Q&A, and we will also be able to follow up with demos and anything else you need help with. So as a bit of an introduction, my name is Greg. I'm a principal solutions engineer at Twilio Segment. Twilio Segment is a customer data platform. In the world of Databricks, what that means is we make it easy to get data into Databricks and out of Databricks. So we send clean, consented, consistent data into Databricks and make it really easy to activate in more than 400 destinations in our catalog. So it's truly the glue that gets data in and out of Segment. And I'm joined here by Ananth, who will introduce himself and Mural.
Hi, everyone. Thanks for coming. I'm Ananth. I'm a principal engineer for Mural. So a bit about Mural, what we do here. Mural is a visual collaboration platform where you can ideate your thoughts and streamline your workflow and build actions around that. It's a digital shared environment for you to boost your productivity. So we deal a lot with data, and data obviously kind of powering more productivity tasks. So happy to be here.
All right, so let's get right into it. So what are we going to talk about today? First, I'm going to give an overview of Twilio Segment and how that works with Databricks. We'll talk in more depth about our vision for the data warehouse, what we've learned over the past few years, given all the changes and trends around the data warehouse space. Then I'll hand the spotlight over to Ananth to talk more about how Mural is using Twilio Segment to get data into their Databricks warehouse and activate that data out. And then finally, we'll talk about, frankly, what we learned by working with Mural, getting them set up with Databricks, and how we're making changes and improvements going forward. So we've seen a lot of things happening in the last few years in the world of customer data. So this is all the data that has to do with your customers' interactions on your websites, apps, portals, etc. And some of those trends are companies want to work out of the data warehouse. When we started Segment in 2012, the data warehouse was a pretty new concept, and Segment developed its own data store. But over time, people wanted to go toward composability and using their data warehouse as the central source of truth. We've also seen a lot of talk about artificial intelligence. Ever since OpenAI launched ChatGPT, generative AI, predictive ML, all of these topics are the rage. And we wanted to adapt our strategy to match the expectations of people in the market. In the world of collecting data from websites and apps, first-party cookies are going away. That date always seems to change with Google, but we know it's coming, and some of it's already happened. So wanting to be able to make complete sense of our customers off of first-party data in the realm of all the changes and regulations that are coming. And there's so many marketing tools out there. It's great to see so many best-in-breed tools crop up every month. And the problem with that is, how do you integrate with all of them? How do you test out those tools and make sure that they work for you? Okay. So in an effort to address all of those trends around AI, around data warehouses, around marketing tools, we're going to put customer customization and personalization first. Twilio Segment has decided between all of these trends, personalization is the most important thing that we're trying to do, and those integrations with those tools and concepts are how we're going to get there. So everything that companies do today is based on how well can we personalize. And the reality is that it's very hard to personalize customer interactions at scale. Companies are spending over $96 billion a year trying to understand their customers and personalize, yet most of those efforts are falling flat. So a majority of customers do not feel like they're engagements are personalized today. And we know this is not good for business. McKinsey has said that 76% of customers don't feel happy with a customer experience when it's not personalized to their needs, to their past interactions. And we know from our own data at Segment that around three-quarters of customers will quit a brand if the experience is not personalized and someone else offers a better, more personalized interaction. So this is leaving companies all over the board vulnerable. $96 billion wasted, risking a poor reputation, losing a customer to a competitor. That's what we want to help fix. Sometimes this works, sometimes it doesn't. Oh, there we go. So why is this all happening? Well, we call this the disjointed tech stack, and it's the key problem that Segment set out to solve. Imagine this. A customer would view an ad on Facebook. They then go to your website. Then they purchase a product. Then they sign up for your loyalty program. And then you have data coming in from all of these different systems, yet it's very hard to string the data interactions between these systems together. And when you do try to do that, when you use ETL tools, warehouses, things like that, it's very hard to make sense of all of that data. And the result of that is that disjointed customer experience, that $96 billion wasted that we were talking about. So this is happening for a host of reasons, and I've got them listed on the board here. So number one is your data is fragmented. That's really the source of all of this problem. And then what we're trying to do is build patchwork solutions to fix that problem. That's going to cause an incomplete view of the customer and slow activation of data. And that's what we're going to fix. So if we think about what customers really want, it's something that we call adaptive engagement. So what they need is a unified view of the customer in a customer profile where you can look up any customer, learn everything about them, and figure out the most appropriate way to target them. This is going to be based on clean, consistent, and consented data. So you want to make sure you're sending in clean data to your systems, transforming any bad data, and also preventing bad data from getting into your downstream tools that make it hard for marketers, data scientists, product managers to do their job. Twilio Segment has more than 400 integrations in our catalog, and we actually support integrating with any tool, whether it's on the source side or the destination side, that has an API or a webhook. So it's easy to get data from all of your marketing sources, like your email marketing tool, your website, your apps, et cetera, into Databricks, and then activate in hundreds of destinations and in the custom tools that you have developed as well. And finally, of course, you couldn't have a talk today without AI. Leveraging customers' data to make predictions about what they'll do next, who's likely to churn, who's likely to who's the most likely to convert, who is likely to have the highest LTV. With all of that data and those customer profiles, that's what we can build. So, at Twilio, we believe the future of customer engagement is the intersection of data, communications, and AI. Imagine a world where a company knows exactly who you are, why you're calling, has predicted the problem you're trying to solve based on what they know about you, and can seamlessly deliver the solution to you on the channel of your choosing, where you are at the right time of day. Now, that might be a little creepy too, but the point is making it feel like a seamless, personalized experience. So that's what we're trying to provide with Segment, and we're giving you the tools to do that. Adding the power of AI to assist the employee and the customer to get to their goal faster is another one of our goals at Twilio. And these types of intelligent interactions unlock value for the customer and the company, making everyone happy. They get that personalized experience. We solve this $96 billion problem. It's so easy, right? So Segment is the only solution that offers adaptive engagement that customers are asking for. That's because it's only possible with a CDP, or customer data platform, that is extensible, scalable, and complete. What do we mean by complete? This means that we check all the boxes for capabilities that are needed to do adaptive engagement, including real-time event streaming, interoperability with the data warehouse, identity resolution, audiences, journeys, and AI. Extensibility is key because the reality is companies are system focused and we want them to be customer focused. So we want to make sure that the teams that use the various best in breed marketing tools are using the tools they want to use with the most complete data. And finally, Segment is proven to be scalable for all sizes of businesses with our event streaming sources and destinations. We've handled data for events as large as the Super Bowl. We can handle billions of events per second with 100% reliability. Now, how does Segment work? We really wanted to start to rethink our strategy when we heard about composability, when people wanted to start putting their data in the warehouse and using that as the source of truth. And at the beginning, we didn't know what to do because we had built this robust real-time event streaming pipeline, and the data warehouse kind of broke some of those assumptions. Things were not happening in real time. You have to write queries and write interactions to tables in the warehouse where we had abstracted away a lot of those things. But yet companies still said they wanted to work with the warehouse. So we had to pivot our strategy to figure out how could we merge this real-time world with the data warehouse world. So there are three layers, and this slide actually starts from the bottom for how Segment works. So we've got both the real-time event streaming layer and the warehouse layer. So the white dots, the white boxes are the real-time event streaming traditional segment, and the black boxes are the data warehouse. So there's three levels to how Segment works. Number one is the data collection and activation. We use tools like our sources that have APIs in every language, libraries in every language. We integrate with hundreds of sources, and we use tools like the privacy portal and protocols to make sure that data is consented, it is compliant with all the regulations, and it is the data that is expected. We also have the ability to use what we call reverse ETL or new low copy, zero copy models to pull data out of the warehouse into customer profiles and destinations. So we have that real-time event streaming pipeline and the data warehouse data being ingested simultaneously, side by side. The middle layer is the customer profile. So this is where we take a look at all the data that's coming in through Segment, and we stitch together events across all of those different sources. So me, Greg, the email I opened, the order I placed on the website, the sneakers that I interacted with on the mobile app, the run that I took, all of those events would come into one user profile using multiple identifiers, but we have our identity resolution to combine things together. And we're also able to bring data out of the warehouse into these profiles and also sync these unified profiles with real-time data back into the data warehouse. Then comes the activation layer. Here is where we build audiences or segments, as most people would know, but we're called Segment. So you can build groups of users that meet certain criteria. I want to find all users in California who went on a run in the last 7 days. I want to find users who have high propensity to buy or propensity to use the various apps based on warehouse models that I've built and combine that data together. So we can combine data from the models in your warehouse with the real-time events for activation. We take those audiences and we can activate them in over 400 downstream tools. So we take one central audience and we can send it to your paid advertising platforms, the common ones, media buying platforms, analytics tools, CRMs, personalization tools, the list goes on. So for people who have models in the data warehouse and they just want to figure out how to activate it, this activation piece is actually where you should pay attention because you can take your data from Databricks and you can send it to hundreds of downstream destinations easily. And now you don't even have to write any queries anymore. It's a clickable builder, and I'm going to show you that later in a demo back at our booth. So I talked a little bit about Segment's warehouse-centric vision, and this is going to get into our conversation with Mural. But just to kind of summarize what I showed you in those block slides previously, Segment can collect data from all of your marketing and product and CRM sources, put all that data into unified customer profiles and activate that data. And the entry point is customizable. In the past, you actually had to use segment connections to collect data, then layer the profile on top of that, then layer the activation. Now it's completely composable, so you can just pick and choose the parts you want. And we're going to get into this in a bit. I'll show you a little bit more about our linked audiences feature, but nowadays you actually don't have to even write queries into data warehouses. You just tell Segment what the relationship is between the tables in your warehouse, and you'll be able to activate those data. So from all the columns and all the tables, you'll be able to access all the relations in your data warehouse and create audience segments from those data. So now I'm going to hand it over to Ananth to talk about how Mural is using Segment, how they went through the trial with Databricks, and what we learned from it.
Thanks, Greg. So yeah, as Greg mentioned, right, like we are a strong believer of the data warehouse as a source of truth. We just completed a huge migration from Redshift to Databricks, and there's the flexibility of storage and compute kind of separate gives us a huge flexibility for us to kind of accelerate and innovate on top of it. And this is when we kind of align with what Segment's the vision for the data warehouse, essentially, right? But Mural, like, one of the key thing about like how Mural works, like, and why for us to kind of integrate with Segment is kind of critical for us is like, we wanted to make the productivity very seamless. The way people are collaborating with each other is very seamless. And if you are a facilitator, if you're running a meeting, or if you're running a retrospect, you can invite people as a guest. The guests don't need to be signed in to the system, and they can seamlessly access the platform and leverage all the features. Well, as a data engineers, that brings a lot of complicator because you have a bunch of guests now accessing the system, and then they go away, and then they come back and sign, and all they become different users. But the behavior remains the same, and we wanted to kind of get a unified view how is the behavior of the people are looking like that, right? So that's one of the key challenge for us while building the whole data system here. Is it okay? No.
It's on the fritz.
Yeah. So this is how typical our data warehouse architecture worked before, right? So we have all the events that we are collecting from Mural, whether you are clicking a widget, like all sort of a metadata information that we are collecting about a user activity that comes as a custom event collector that we kind of ingested into Databricks, essentially. And so once we got the raw data in, we run a huge sessionization job. The sessionization job, essentially, we are hoping within a limited time window, maybe an hour, the guest user somehow signed in back, and we are trying to do that, merging those things, trying to see if the same cookie is available, and we're trying to say they're the same user or not. And the window functions always like a fixed window. So if you're accessing like 5 minutes later, the window kind of closed, you still be an anonymized user. So there's a huge amount of anonymized users, but again, like because of the sessionization job, it's add the latency also on top of our data pipeline that overall producing it. And then from there, we're building this user profile system. And we have Salesforce, Marketo, Gainsight for all different business unit of functions. And we had to send those data to all those platforms to activate them. And that also brings a lot of challenges. This API is always broken. And we end up, like our data engineering function essentially end up writing the tools and integration platform for them rather than building any of the useful metrics for us. So we are in a stage like we are kind of, we have this huge, powerful platform like Databricks kind of system that you can quickly scale, you can build a lot of AI specialized applications, but what we actually kind of dealing in the ground is to kind of fixing the Marketo connector. So that's what essentially we are doing. So once kind of adopt Segment, so we kind of believe what Greg mentioned about like using Segment as an extension of our data warehouse. And that's what we kind of end up, like that's how our architectures kind of end up, right? So what we have done, we efficiently use segment profile sync. The advantage of segment profile sync is that it's configurable way that you can add many identifier. Now I can identify, I can add an identifier from my cookie or my, from a mobile browser or any other browsers. That gives me the deduplication of the profile in segment. So that makes us like a huge get rid of like a lot of custom code that we written in our cases, right? So Mural events goes to the segment profile syncs coming to the Databricks here. And that makes us very easy to kind of focus on the user profile table. The profile table, the way we kind of designed, we built a what do you call a bit-based model, like because we have like so many events are collecting, so many actions people are taking in Mural. You might see in a board, you might add a widget. So we have a binary encoded way of data modeling. If you see in a dashboard, we have coded as 1. So we have this whole big flat table model that we built it on top of user profiles tables that help us to track what are the features that users are using over the period of a time when they use that. Easy for us to build some kind of a milestone associated with that one. Because as a productivity software, it's very important for us to see how many features our people are using and how familiar they are and how frequent they are. So integrating profile and efficiently outsourcing profile to segment enabled us to focus more on building meaningful data model rather than dealing with this one, right? And then we switched to segment reverse ETL to handle, activate all those data from marketer, Salesforce, and Gainsight. The bigger surprise or bigger advantages for us is like now our marketing team or martech team itself is now started to dealing with interconnecting our data warehouse into Marketo. So it's efficiently we kind of outsource both the end of function, one to segment, one to the business unit itself to kind of take care of their integration, because that is the bigger pain point that we have seen. Essentially, we as a developer write all the custom integrations, but we don't control the Marketo or Salesforce data model. And the business expertise lies with somebody, and there's a huge interaction between both the parties happening. And what efficiently segment reverse ETL with a simplified UI, it's help us for the business units to take care of their business model and activation, and we help them to provide the data that makes the friction much lesser in this case, right? So that all goes back to what Greg mentioned about the Mural's data-centric vision, right? We have data comes from Twilio, segment, and profile sync, reverse ETL, and the destination kind of sync to Databricks. So now it frees us, help us to collect clean, consistent data across the different ecosystem, whether you're logged in, whether you don't logged in. So as from a data warehouse perspective, we are getting the efficient data that enable us to build more and more meaningful business applications on top of it. So we kind of align very well with what Mural's data warehouse vision in the future, and we are very excited about it. So these are the few, so we collect all those user profile data, and these are the few areas that we are actually powering data with across different business unit in Mural. So product, essentially using audit reporting, which is absolutely critical, right? Like we wanted to show who is using our system for Mural and like what their future is using, how active we are. So we have to give some more meaningful information to our clients so that they can understand how their users are using Mural efficiently. So we have this user milestone that we are building on top of it, essentially measuring how familiar with the user for a particular tool. And user activity summary, absolutely critical for many, many use cases. And we use segment connection, essentially send the user activity data to Databricks, literally like along with the activity data that we are collecting, we're also collecting many data from many other sources. Like, Satismeter is another source where we're collecting NPS score and putting into data warehouse so they can come connect with those one. So we no longer write any of the connector, we just rely on the segment to bring those data here. And I'm kind of highlighting some of the few areas that in reverse ETL that we are using with Marketo, that we are sending the user profile segment to Marketo, and gain side for the user activities, so it can efficiently serve customer requests. The customer experience person can efficiently understand what is the journey for the users into this one. It's a marketing side of it. We use segment connections a lot. We send marketing qualified lead connecting to Kinesis, and real-time stream is kind of flowing to Marketo to that one. We also kind of seeing data from Google Analytics, Facebook Audience, Optimizely, LinkedIn Campaign, like all kind of other marketing channels also that we are collecting this one. So, efficiently kind of extending segment along with the Databricks, our data warehouse system, we enable our business unit across the company, build some meaningful data products out of it, right? So, great.
Thanks so much, Ananth. And one of the things we learned with Mural as one of the first segment customers with Databricks was, this is all great. How do we make it even better? And one of the things that was touched upon is how we're leveraging the real-time event streaming data that's available in Segment and combining that with the warehouse data to make the best of data across marketing, sales, etc. And that's why actually just last week we released this new feature called Linked Audiences that makes it easier than ever to work with the data warehouse. What Linked Audiences does is it allows you to create a mapping of the tables in your data warehouse, and Segment will see all of the columns. But now any marketer or non-technical user can come in and leverage all the same data that's in the warehouse without having ever even heard of what SQL is. So now you can take all of the rich warehouse data and combine it with your real-time customer data with linked audiences. It's powered by our data graph, and we'd love to give you a demo today at our booth. So we're going to direct you there. But the key of it is this is going to make it easier than ever to take your data that's in your warehouse and activate it in hundreds of destinations connected to Segment. Thanks so much. Thanks, Ananth. And yeah, have a great rest of your talk, great rest of your show. Thank you.